All right, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to You Don't Know Ball, episode 48, and we are so glad to have you back. And it was it's been a trend this year. I wouldn't even say a crazy week. I would say a very entertaining week, though.
Yeah, I mean, when Josh Dobbs comes in after 2-3 days of being on the team and beats the Atlanta Falcons, who, a lot of people thought were the favorite to win the NFC South at the beginning of the year, I would consider it probably a crazy week.
No, it was a pretty absurd week, actually. I'm going to take back my initial statement that it wasn't. It was an absurd week.
So before we get into the games, I think I have, just based off what you just said, what do you think is the main storyline or narrative for this year? Because I saw a stat that 10 different rookies have made their start this year, and I believe that's a record. So for me, this year has been watching teams kind of get rid of the old and welcome in the new. There's a lot of teams with very young quarterbacks, and it just feels like the guys even Russ is kind of on the way out. Matt Stafford's kind of on the way out. I mean, that's been kind of the story for me this year, is being able to watch all these teams and all their new players, young players, Derrick Henry, all that stuff, getting older. So
it's crazy. And no, you're spot on. It's almost a thing where it's like, I want to say, because it is, part of it is sad, but it's also very exciting. Like, whenever you're getting that really new, and it does feel like a very new era is being unfolded. Yeah. Whereas, I think this was the biggest telling point, and I think every fan would agree with this. Early on in the whole Mahomes tenure, just his time in the league, when Brady was still, Brady was still the guy, but Mahomes was coming on. That was the feeling. It's like Mahomes is the young guy, man.
Right.
Like, this is the young gun. And now you're looking at the spectrum of the league, and you're like, man, Mahomes is the killer.
You're
like Mahomes is the guy that most of these guys are even younger. Like, it's like things got weird fast.
Yeah. Like,
Mahomes is the guy now, and on not just levels the talent, but he's also got the experience. So things shifted really quick. He went from being the young gun to the old veteran legend, but he's not even old at all.
Talking about two young guns, Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Let me ask you this. Is George Pickens' behavior worse than Antonio Brown?
All right, look, that's a hilarious question. Number one, I have to address. It's a hilarious question. I'll say this. Look, no, not yet, because he literally had some egregious nonsense we won't even go back into. And if you don't know about all of it, you might not but there was some crazy chapters in the AB era.
It was
bad. And it still is even ongoing to an extent. I feel like he's toned it down a lot though. But what I'm going to say is this George Pickens shit, you know how wrong you rubbed me when I was texting you guys about it initially. Here's my thing that's really frustrating about a situation like this. Especially, I'm sure, Steelers fans can agree completely. Look, you're above 500 by 2 games right now.
Yeah.
You're a team that's, in my opinion, exceeding expectations. A young team that has to keep gelling together. And you're going to go take the situation and make it about yourself? As if, the man literally completely had a brain cramp, and on the reason he didn't have a touchdown himself.
Yeah.
He would have been on the board, and it's so. There's so many things.
Let me ask you
this. I'm being nice to him right now. I'm gonna be clear. You know me. I'm being nice. This is as nice as I could lay it out.
Let me ask you this, okay? Because a lot of players say that they can tell when someone can play. George Pickens can play. George Pickens can play ball. He should have been in bounds in that touchdown, but what if they just know Kenny Pickett is not the guy? I mean, he's in his second year? It's just if they know he's not the guy, George Pickens probably feels okay, bro, I'm trying to get paid too. So it's if you suck, I'm not getting paid, and I don't want to be here.
See, that's the thing though. And that probably is how he's looking at it. I'm going to be clear, yeah, that's probably the case. And also, because here's the thing. That's why you can't even go from the angle of he's just trying to win. If they lost the game, anybody could pull that stunt. But it's then you can't really pull that stunt. It's really not about the winning. It's about wanting to have to contribute highly to the win. But to that point, what you're saying, why else would that be? It's for money. Here's my thing. Look, you choose the kind of teammate you're going to be, right? If you want to come out here and make your brand so that you're making more money than everyone else, and that's your only goal out here.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like the championship goal comes second then, and that's the whole kind of thing when you want to be that type of person. Oh, I'm just an alarm merchant.
No, you're good.
Every episode, I'm just an alarm merchant. But look, so back to the thing. You get what I'm saying. It's I get him. I get the sentiment that you want to contribute and you want to be a big contributor. Even if it's not just for the money, it's just for, I want to contribute. But as long as you're getting the win and you did the blocking you had to do, all the things that don't show up, hey, you still contributed to the win. And if you don't think your teammates can look at it that way and you're not looking at it that way, then it's a whole mess even in of itself. There's so many things I could say. I'm gonna let you go from here, but
Every person that has listened to this podcast, this episode, has more yards than George Pickens did that game against Tennessee. He had -1 yards. Now, here is something that I want to talk about, okay? Because if you're the Steelers, really, what do you do going forward with Kenny Pickett? Do you I mean, obviously you ride it out with him this year, but like I think it's kind of like a pretty quick consensus that Kenny Pickett is just not.
Here's what's so
working.
weird about him, though. This is why it does not make any sense. And it's crazy because this was the narrative going into week 1 this year. It still is. It's like, how is this still the thing, right?
Right.
And I even said, if this is still a problem, it's going to be a problem because it's cool when you're a rookie. But look, here's the issue now. He only comes alive in the fourth quarter. Why is that? Like, why is he like the most clutch QB in the league, but he doesn't turn it on until the fourth quarter?
Right.
Makes no sense. And we can keep blaming how terrible the Steelers' offense is and all these things about the run game and the play calling. I'm not sitting here excusing any of that either. But like you're saying, the reality of the situation is, and I think plenty of Steelers fans would actually disagree with us. That's what's weird. Is if I'm understanding correctly, a lot of Steelers fans, I think that they're still like really on the train. My thing is, look, can Kenny Pickett get you to the playoffs and can he like obviously win you some games? There's no doubt about it. But you know what it's always going to go back to, and everyone already knows what I'm going to say next, because the promised land thing. Like, does he give you a high likelihood of getting it done unless you have, like we say, the perfect roster? But then when you put the perfect roster, then his value drives up, and then you got to pay him, and then you can't repay. Like, if you don't have the actual guy that's worth the money that you're going to end up paying him no matter what, I use Daniel Jones as my example, then everything's going to crumble when you pay them what they're valued at, and then you get what I'm saying here. So, yes, it's like, where do they go from here? They're either going to stick with it, end up having to pay him eventually, or not pay him. But at that point, then, this roster is just getting older. They have a great defense, but time's ticking. And they're in a relatively interesting situation for sure.
The thing with the Steelers to me is I just don't trust them to ever beat like a truly elite team that could put up like 30 points. Like if you're putting up 30 points, you're beating the Steelers. Their defense is really good, but it's just something that I feel like you're just going to be hampered by the quarterback play. Because like 160 yards and a touchdown, it got it done. But like,
well, they're gonna. This is what I say too. Let's just be realistic. Kenny Pickett, in all likelihood, in any given situation, no matter when the Steelers would go on a potential bowl run, he'd have to win 4 games in a row for them. There's just no other way around it because they're not gonna be the 1 seed, right? Like at least in the next foreseeable future. So it's like, I mean, is it gonna happen? You know me. Likely not. Like, is there a slim percentage chance that crazy things could happen and you could have a miracle run with them? For sure. But it's like the likelihood of that happening versus if you get him a better replacement. But again, that's where the issue comes in. Is this better replacement thing is never easy. Because then you got to sacrifice assets or you got to sacrifice time. And no matter what, you might have sacrificed time on the wrong guy. You might have sacrificed assets on the wrong guy. It's just, it's rough. But if you're a Steelers fan, at least, you still have a competitive team no matter what, even in the situation with Kenny Pickett. So you can't really hang your head on it. It's just something to ponder for sure. Because again, I think a lot of Steelers fans are not with us on this, which is what makes it interesting. You know, if I'm understanding the consensus for what I've been seeing correctly, I think they're still pretty in on him.
On the other side of the ball, Will Levis is having, I would say, a pretty good start to his career. 500 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2 starts. What do you think Titans fans should be looking forward to with Will Levis potentially being a steal at the beginning of the second round?
Well, I'll say there's no doubt. I think you'd agree with me that he looks for sure. Like, it's weird to even say steal because he should have actually been. I mean, you know, early second round normally you're like, it's pretty good for, but I get what it is. He is a steal for because of the fact that he fell and all that. But regardless, this is the thing. He's showing the flashes, in my opinion, with arm talent. That's the main thing. With arm talent that Kenny Pickett's definitely not showing you. Even in this game, there's specifically some times where, you know, Will is really driving that ball at his receivers. Like, really driving it in tight windows. And the receivers can't make a play on it even sometimes. Where it's like, okay, they're still not, you know, they're not used to this new gunslinger they got back there that's going to be throwing fastballs at him all the time.
Right.
But it's a very real skill that it's not easy to have. That's not something that every QB has. Whether you have accurate ball placement and all these other traits that, you know, Kenny has good traits like that and all, you know, Kenny has a good deep ball. There's things about him you got to love. But the velocity that Will's putting on that ball and those strikes that he's throwing, to me, that's the big difference right now. You can already see is it's like Will can really drive that thing into a tight window. With a guy like Kenny, that's another thing. In my opinion, it's a big disadvantage you get with a guy like him is he just doesn't drive it necessarily just fast enough where it's like you just miss a fraction of the windows that you get with a guy like Will, and it's nice to have from a game plan perspective if you're the offensive coordinator.
I think that's definitely something that Titans fans should look forward to because, I mean, if you really look at it, where have they had that star quarterback? Like, they had those years for Tannehill, but, I mean, they may truly have something special here in Will Levis because when you saw, like you're talking about the strength on the deep balls, some of those balls, like the ball placement, like the finesse he has when he throws the ball, it just looks different. Like, you can see it on screen, like, kind of. I mean, like, I'm not trying to compare the two, but that's kind of what you see with Stroud and why Stroud is so good. The ball placement is incredible. It's only where his receiver can get it. So
I'd actually even say it like this. I'll even one up it too. Here's what I thought you were going to say. The way he's driving the ball right now, a lot reminds me of like when Josh Allen did his best. And you're like, Josh is right. He put it there. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah.
Because what I love too that Will does a lot, and Titans fans, I'm sure have already noticed this. It's like he definitely doesn't really let you in on his key right away. Like, he's always trying to lead you away from where he's going to throw the ball a lot of times. Like, he's always like looking people off, or he's like giving a subtle pump and then he's going back. And that's the type of shit you got to love because you really don't. You can teach it, but certain things like that are just instinctual and habits. It's harder to teach. Where it's like he already has those habits instilled, which is awesome.
Yeah. So did you want to talk any bit about Jalen Warren or the Titans defense?
Yeah, I was going to say number one. It's clear at this point. And it's funny because last year I'd argue with my buddy that would say this, and I would say no, like Najee just needs, he's got to get more comfortable. He's got to get more healthy.
Yeah.
Just get him in the offense more. I'm going to say it, no. Jalen Warren and Najee just split the carries. If not, give Jalen even more, not more carries than him, but give Jalen more carries than he's getting now. Like, Jalen Warren's a talented back. He's got some finesse and power to him. It's a weird combo. You look at it, it's a weird combo. Like, it's awesome. Give that man the ball more. He makes an impact on the offense when he does. Give that man the ball more. And I just thought it was interesting, though, with this game. No matter what, like I said, Kenny Pickett still is very clutch, too. Like, it's just like last thing. I already talked about it, but it's just weird because with the Steelers and everything, you still got a clutch quarterback. So the Steelers are still – that's what's weird is I still think the Steelers – they're still a playoff team. The AFC North as a whole, like all playoff teams or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. Weird situation over there in Pittsburgh, but –
Yeah, Pittsburgh, I'm interested to see if they make the playoffs and how far they can go. The game really wasn't a shootout, and neither was Miami, Kansas City. And let me ask you this. Can the Dolphins not beat good teams? They're 6-0 versus teams that are under 500 and 0-3 versus teams that are over 500.
So, I've been thinking about this. I don't think it's necessarily like that they can't. And let me be clear. I'm not going to sit here and sympathize with them. Like, as of right now, if you were looking at the fraud radar, like everyone's going to say, like, and everyone's been saying, like, yeah, they're definitely peeping on that fraud radar because of what's been going down, what's transpired. But it's more like, I do think that they can do it.
Yeah.
But, again, no, I'm going back and forth. But it's like, then realistically, you ask yourself, like, is this going to be the year that they lift the Lombardi? Probably not. Because, realistically, again, they're going to have to go 4 in a row, very likely. And if you can't even get one consistently right now against the good teams, the chances you going to get 4 in a row is going to be really, really, really slim. So I think, if anything, it's more indicative that, like, yes, this Dolphins team is really good and really talented, but this isn't the team that's going to go do the whole thing. Not that it can't happen soon, and I think it very well could happen soon. If anything, though, I think it's just an indicator of how much is still missing, and that they are a great team, but they're just missing a few more things. That's really all it's saying. When you match them up with the big dogs, they're very generally, it's not even like they're getting blown out or anything, really more than ones, or it's not like consistently. It's just they're missing a few punches. They're hanging in there just enough, and they're not being the one that's landing the final blow. But it's like they just need a little more.
Do you think it's because they're relying too much on their pass game?
I don't know. Again, like I said, and it's funny because I know Bradley,
like recently, I know they weren't earlier in the year, but with Achane out.
Again, it sounds weird, but I'm going to stick to it, and everyone's going to probably, especially Dolphins fans, probably disagree with me a lot right now. But I don't care. I'm sticking with this 100%. I think the biggest difference right now between them, it's weird because that's the thing. I was gonna say the Chiefs, but then I took it back because no, it's like you got Chris Jones up the middle. My thing, they have Bradley Chubb's really coming to his own, really good pass rusher, and then Jalen Phillips, really good pass rusher. But again, they need the elite. Like that elite game record that they don't have. They don't have the elite game record. And that is what it comes down to. I truly do believe. Give the Dolphins a absolute game wrecking D lineman. That would be the tipping point for them. They don't have it right now. And that's, I think, going to keep being the thing. if they don't get it this offseason, we'll see where it goes. Or if Jalen Phillips or Bradley Chubb doesn't take that step. But again, if anything, at this point in their career, Jalen's going to be the guy to take the elite step because Bradley's already been around long enough. But Bradley's been a good pass rusher for a long time. Really good pass rusher for a long time. But yeah, exactly. You need someone to turn into the elite status.
They kind of held the Chiefs up at first. Like it was a tough game, even though the Chiefs won. But in my opinion, what was the most surprising thing for you about the Chiefs this game? The fact that how well their defense played against an explosive Miami team, or the fact that they were able to win when their offense isn't really operating at top gear?
Well, no. So that's what's funny is I'm going to go back to this right away because you were saying it, and I do agree with it in this game specifically 100%. Like, they didn't run the ball enough, and them not running the ball enough is probably why they lost this game specifically, right? They let the Chiefs not hang in it. They let them take it because of the fact, too, that when they were, right, like, okay, here's the stat that needs to be announced, right? Raheem Mostert, 7.1 yards a carry. Every other running back did play poorly. Get Raheem the ball. Keep running those zone runs you were running, especially at the end of the game. Things look great, but they abandoned it for whatever reason. I don't know what the situation was. Whatever the case, that's why I do believe this game specifically the Dolphins sold themselves because, yeah, they didn't go to the run game when they needed to. Relied a little too much on Tua. And, again, I don't think it's what does this say about the team or what does this say about them specifically? I don't know, but I think you could apply it to both of them. I think maybe for Mahomes and Tua playing in this interesting environment, I don't know, maybe just threw them off a little bit because you could say both of them necessarily didn't have their best game, right? It's like, not to make excuses for anybody, but definitely a little bit of an interesting situation. Like where they played the game and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And the way you got to travel.
Early games,
Yeah,
jet lag.
I think, too, what I wanted to point out about this game, and it's been the thing with the Dolphins. I said this before earlier. I have to go back and look specifically which games it has been. But when teams play really well against the Dolphins or beat them, we could use the Patriots as an example, too. They didn't, like where you play them close. You got to get hands on the receivers right away. Early on in the play, you got to get them off timing. That's the only way you can beat this team. I can't say the only, but I'm going to say that's the main way you're going to beat this offense. Certainly. So, at this point, yeah, the blueprint's out.
Talking about jet lag, Josh Dobbs just flew into Minnesota and beat the Atlanta Falcons. Well, he flew into Minnesota and then went to Atlanta and beat the Atlanta Falcons. So let me ask you this question, and it's probably funny. Can Josh Dobbs be the future franchise QB for the Vikings?
I think, realistically, no. I think he's definitely the guy I think they're gonna ride him out though as long as they can here. Because it was like, I know they were saying that they're gonna have Nick Mullins coming back soon, and that okay, so we'll have a couple guys, and maybe Nick's been around longer on the roster, so maybe he can get the nod. Well, after what Josh did. And I think even you could go back to some moments on the Cardinals. Again, we talk about how poor the roster has been and everything, the way it's been constructed. Look, Josh was doing what he had to do out there, right? Yeah, he gets reckless. Let's acknowledge it for what it is. The man gets reckless. The man has some a little bit of crazy tendencies sometimes. But again, he's like a part-time astronaut, scientist, what a combo, and he's a part-time football player. Like, you got to take what comes with it. He's obviously a smart guy. He obviously, what he did out there is legendary. That's what we got to talk about it. Look, legendary. You talk about on the scale of legendary performances, where does this rank? The game where the man came in on no notice, not even knowing his teammates' names, not knowing the playbook, having the plays explained to him mid-play, that he was playing real-life Madden. Like Madden that you would be playing if they made a virtual simulation at like a Dave & Buster's or something. That was like the Josh Dobbs experience. He went out there and made it work. Like, how can you not respect that, though? That's incredible. And for this year, if you're a Vikings fan, does he give you a shot to go to the playoffs potentially? I would say like slim, but like it's there. It's there.
It's gonna be hard to do with no run game.
If correct me if I'm wrong, if the season started today, they're in, right? The Vikings?
I believe
they're
so.
They're either in or one game out or tied. Tied for on like a, where one team gets a tip. Double check this for me.
Yeah.
But so it's like they're right there right now, and yeah, it's not like, again, in terms of chances, not like a high chance. But if you're a Vikings fan, you're in there still swinging.
So as I look this up, let me ask you about the other side of the ball. Why does Art Smith hate good players?
Oh, so our narrative's cooking, isn't it?
Yeah, they are the 7th seed.
Oh, man. Look, our narrative's cooking, bro. And it's crazy because, again, we like Art Smith, Like, it's funny, though, because I'm starting to realize, and I think it's what makes this suck so much, is that maybe I'm starting to realize the things we fuck with about Art Smith is also just part of the fact that he's just, like, he's so serious that it's goofy. It's like all the things it's just Art Smith. But now it's like, no, we're not questioning nothing. We're questioning the decisions. We're questioning what we're seeing is transpiring. We're seeing, he hates star players, apparently.
He has
Was Art
to.
Smith a perennial forced six man? Like, not the six man that enjoys the role. Like, was he hooping in middle school, high school, and his coach was forcing him? Like, forced 6-man role? Because this man hates star players. He doesn't want to give him no shine. He's trying to make everybody the 6-man. This is unbelievable behavior.
I think this is what we talk about a lot with GMs, where it's like, don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. Like he said, well, it's better if teams scheme up for 3 guys opposed to 1. Yeah, but if your best players aren't consistently having the ball in their hands, you're kind of not as good of a team as you could be. I mean, that's the reality of it.
I'll use this too. How about this? Right? Hear me out. Yes, it is harder to an extent to have the game plan for a lot of guys. But I think that's more to the extent where you're just getting more guys on the field. They don't even have to be getting tons of, like Art Smith will, like, they get a lot of targets and a lot of attention. Even just bringing guys out makes you have to account for them. And here's my other piece. If you're putting tape out of the plays that you want and you want to run in the future at some point with these different guys, like, it doesn't matter that it's different guys. Like, they're still going to see the tape regardless. And then when that guy comes out, you only know you have a limited sample size on what plays that they know and run. So you're like, oh, well, that guy's out. Like, well, we know we saw him do this and this and this, and we didn't see him do this, this, and this that we saw the other guys doing. So logically, it's like, well, then we're going to have a pretty good key on what to expect. Am I wrong? I mean,
no, you're not wrong. I really don't understand. I mean, bright spot for Atlanta has been their defense, though, which is
for sure,
which is nice.
Which is also what was interesting about this game, that they let the Vikings cook them up the way they did.
Talking about another team that got cooked up on Sunday, the Arizona Cardinals lost to the Cleveland Browns 27-0. Not that surprising. They started a rookie quarterback in Clayton Tune, who had 58 yards and 2 interceptions. You would have liked to see Deshaun Watson ball out a little bit more. But my question for you, Dobbs, is with the Browns playing how they are now, how deep can they go in the playoffs?
Playing like they are right now, you know, again, it's weird because you got to throw them in the same category as a lot of different teams that have like that scrappy defense, but you just don't know how you feel about the quarterback situation. Like, it's like, again, realistically, with Deshaun having to go and win 4 playoff games in a row, I just don't even feel like we haven't even, I almost feel like I'm comfortable saying this point. I haven't even seen like enough of Deshaun yet this year to even have much of an opinion yet. Like, how about the last 2 starts better than the beginning? So it's like, at least we're like trending upward.
Right.
It's almost like I'm not even ready to say yet because I feel like I haven't even seen enough of Deshaun this year with actually in a good functioning situation now in the Browns, where it's like, I'll be ready to answer this in like 2 or 3 more weeks as long as he doesn't get injured again or miss any time. But as of right now, again, I still stand where I stood with them for the whole year. They are the team. They're the dark horse. Like, they could go and make a run at it. Is it likely? No. But it's likely that they could make noise, I would say. Like, at least upset one person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I do think that the Browns will make some noise.
Even with the really injured O-line, they played okay. Obviously, the run game, not amazing. But I think, with their defense, they obviously wreaked havoc on a very weak Cardinals team, but they continue to be dominant week in and week out.
No, they do. All right, so here's what's funny. Again, the Browns, that's why I said, coming into a hole. Amari Cooper, out the gates, a little inconsistent. Look, last 2 weeks, 11 receptions, 228 yards, a touchdown. Browns had 7 total sacks. But again, back to the thing with the Cardinals. It's like, this is not the situation for Clayton Tune. This is not the type of way you want to bring someone in and start their career. And it just doesn't really make any sense.
Justin Fields vibes.
No, I mean, I genuinely want to talk about this. This is something I was really interested in. Tell me what about this situation in any way made sense. Because stick with me for a sec.
Okay.
We're assuming that the Cardinals in no way were trying to tank. Because why would they? I mean, realistically, no, I don't think that's the situation. Like, they beat the Cowboys. They've been playing competitive games all year.
Right.
You get my point. Kyler's coming back. And so then on top of that, here's where the question arises. It's like, well, why, number one, what was the point of trading Josh Dobbs? Because, correct me if I'm wrong. I guess, getting value from him, but hear me out. I guess my thing what was the point of benching him in the sense of, remember how Gannon said, I got the tape, and I didn't like the tape, and I'm going to give, now we're starting to play. Like, I'm just wondering, what was the direction with any of that? Because you actually thought Clayton was going to come in and, do better than Josh was? I guess that's just my main question at this point.
My honest opinion, I think they almost felt too confident in Dobbs to not command the tank. So they had to say, like, they didn't like the tape, so it wasn't like they're benching a guy that's actually making them competitive.
But that's my thing. That's why this doesn't make any sense, because Kyler's coming back.
Yeah,
So it's like if you had any idea this was even a possibility, what would be the point of even like trying to tank in the first place?
See, this part doesn't make sense to me. I think you have to let Kyler play. I think Kyler wants to play. I think he wants to prove to people that he's worth the money. But as the future of the franchise, I don't know if that's necessarily your best option, considering they currently hold the number 1 overall pick. And I mean, regardless if you take a quarterback here or not, which I actually don't think they would, I actually think they're going to trade back because they really need to have a lot of assets and build their team. This potentially moves you out of a spot where you have a ton of leverage by playing Kyler Murray.
No, that is very true. And I agree. Like, from the perspective of like what I would be doing that's the thing is that would have been my thing from the jump. That's why I think the way the Cardinals have managed this kind of fucked themselves. Because now you got everyone's hopes up, and I'm gonna go back to this one. This is what I'm getting at with why I think they fucked themselves. Because now, look, the average fan. Like, I'm talking about the average fan here. I'm talking in terms of guys that you're trying to sell that are going to be buying out boxes with their companies. I'm talking people fill out events, give the team money consistently through it. You know what I'm saying? People are going to the games. So, look, the reality situation is when dudes show up to the game, they go, this is my team, and I want to see them win. So, here, my point I'm getting at. So, the Cardinals have 4 more home games this year. And it's like, you already got the fans hyped that Kyler's coming back. Kyler says he wants to come back. And if you bring him back, you're probably going to sell a lot of tickets those games.
Right.
Versus, like, if you don't play him now, it's like nobody's going to come watch you. Like, what's really, realistically, what is the point of how, like, why is anyone going to come to Cardinals games at this point this year?
They're tanking. They're getting ready for next year.
So, where it's like, exactly. If you play Kyler, at least you can sell out probably a lot of tickets, sell out a lot of, not sell out the games, but sell a lot more than you would be. Bring in money this year. I do agree. The best case scenario for long term is probably just to not play him. But here's my thing, too, is then you also know exactly what you have, where it's like, are we getting rid of him this year, or are we keeping him? Because it's like, we're going to see if he's really healthy and he comes back and he looks really good and sharp again, or it's like, nah, I don't want to stick around Kyler. And yeah, you're losing leverage and you might as well go to a draft pick, but at least you know for certain. Silver lining. Just trying to look at it from both ends. I agree, though, no matter what. Your way is definitely, the tank way is the way with the Cardinals, the way they're built right now.
Kyler, possibly the franchise quarterback for the Cardinals. Talking about another franchise quarterback, can Sam Howell be a top 10 QB in the NFL? 2 straight weeks of 300-plus passing yards.
Well, again, so we keep saying, bro, like, we're going through the era change. Things change quick. I mean, not right now, but in the next couple years, if he keeps growing this fast, I'm saying it seems like it's been pretty fast growth, Like, it was very, very quickly, I was kind of like, he showed me the flashes the first couple weeks, and then against Buffalo, when they had that stinker against Buffalo. That's absolute shit show. I was like, no. Like, he fooled me, he tricked me, yada, yada. Grew up a lot from that game really quick. Hasn't really shown many of those same mistakes more than a couple times, if anything, since then. Where I'm like, all right, kid's growing up quick. And that's what's crazy. You call him a kid, but it's like, how old is Sam Howell? Hold on, quick.
Sam Howell's young. He was a fifth-round pick.
I would say he's 23.
Okay.
So Sam Howell's 23. It's like crazy. But again, you're building around a young guy. And I think the way that the team talks about him, it speaks for itself. Like Jonathan Allen was saying, like, Sam Howell's our guy. We route Sam Howell. I feel like you don't really often see that with a guy drafted at Sam Howell's position, unless they really believe it. Well, kind of even like, remember with Jalen Hurts? It was kind of like that's how I compare to, where nobody really even around the Eagles believed in him early on. But it was like, not to even compare Sam to him in that aspect, but you get what I'm saying. Where it's like, you're not sure, but the Eagles kept saying, like, no, that's our guy. Like, that guy, Jalen, that's our guy, man. Like, and even if you're like, I don't know if I believe you. Like, they believed in it, and I think that's the most important thing you can ask for.
Yeah, I think the players obviously will know. I think it's more reliable to rely on what players say than what coaches and front offices say.
Yeah, certainly, because the difference is that the player is not directly tied to being fired or keeping their contract with said team. Right. They can get traded. They can go sign with someone else on no one without having it be a huge issue and having it be a huge news story. You get what I'm saying? It is to an extent, but not for every player. And you get what I'm saying?
No,
but the coach, there's got to be some
I understand. I mean, they have mediocre line. They have a good play caller in Eric Bieniemy. They have weapons for him to throw to. Like, it is a fairly favorable situation for Sam Howell, which is not necessarily a knock on him, but to say basically that he's in a good situation. And the year before he was taken, he was supposed to be a first-round pick. So the Commanders may have gotten a steal in him. And a team that did not get a steal in their quarterback is Mac Jones, who has just looked brutal this year.
Yeah, and let's be clear. This is where I think it's funny, though, because you see the Mac Jones apologists, they still roll my seal a little bit, but that's not as crazy as it was at the beginning of the year. Because this, hear me out. Yes, is the Patriots offense a just joke? And is there minimal skill position value? And is there all these issues with the O-line? Yes. Literally, absolutely. But on top of it, back to the thing that we're going to make the narrative here shortly when we get into one of these teams when it's time. But if you have the guy, right, like it doesn't matter how poor the situation is or any of this, you will see multiple flashes often. Yes, and there will be, but you'll see the multiple flashes often. With Mac, let's be real. When is the last time that you were like, that's that flash? Like, that's just an elite moment from Mac? Just like, it just doesn't happen. Because that's the thing is, yes, at this moment, in this moment in time, he's a pedestrian QB in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been injured a few times. Things changed. The regime keeps changing. His offense keeps changing. I don't blame him for being in a terrible situation. That's the thing is, it's not even his fault. And yes, could he go somewhere else and find much more success than he is finding in New England? Like, for sure. But right now, just right now, it's a joke.
Yeah. And obviously you don't have a ton of skill on the Patriots offense. Demario Douglas had a good game. Ramondre had a good game. Almost like, not his first of the year, but definitely his best of the year.
I would say Demario Douglas for a 6th-round pick. If you're a Patriots fan, you got to love the value you got.
I mean, they can't draft receivers high, so if you can get them in the end of the rounds, more props to you. Going from old or young to old, what does the Rams' future look like? Do you keep or do you move on from Stafford?
You got to move on. Because, again, you know, I'll admit it. Clown moment. I'm a clown. How about this? Haha. No, the Rams sold me early on, right? Like, I was sold again that, like, some way, somehow, like, maybe could they find themselves, like, a wild card spot, like, keep fighting behind Matt. Again, if Matt was able to, like, be Superman and be out there every single week, like, just maybe, somehow, some way, like, they might be able to turn out, like, 8 or 9 wins. But he's not, and we know he's dealing with these long-term injuries. That's another thing on top of it. Like, no matter how good of a roster you put around him, you don't really – he's like a ticking time bomb himself, unfortunately. Legendary QB, you got to love him, you know, like, he's done a lot of great things. But at this point in time, he's ticking time bomb. And, again, it's a really weird situation because McVay's on the new contract, you know, but all his guys are seemingly going to be out the door soon. I mean, like, the only way that they hold on to Kupp and Donald is if they basically agree, like, no, I don't want to go anywhere else. Like, I actually just only want to play on the Los Angeles Rams. And if you trade me, I'm going to retire. Or if you, I'm going to just even, I'll just going to retire before you even trade me type thing. Like, which is not going to happen for Kupp, especially. I'm talking, that's more of an Aaron Donald thing. You get my point with. I know the whole thing with AD was like, oh, I don't know if I want to keep. All right, whatever. With AD, I get it. But with Kupp, it's like, realistically, why would Kupp not at this point? It's trending to like Kupp's going to have to be the guy that they want to get a lot of value quick. And he's getting older. Like, you only have value on Kupp so much longer. He's injury prone. Like,
we talked about this earlier, but like moving him and Donald probably at the deadline would have been their best option.
Yeah,
because no one's trading for Stafford.
It would have stung like shit. But this is where it's funny. This is why I laugh, and it's true with people. Like, they love delaying the inevitable. Yeah, it would have stung a lot, but it's just going to sting more now in the future. Like, you just delayed the inevitable process of it stinging when they have to leave. Like, you could have gotten it done halfway through the year. Said, oh my God, that year sucks so much. And then by the end of the beginning of next year, you have a whole new bundle of hope. You have a whole new direction in place, and it's already like you ripped the Band-Aid off. But now it's just you delayed that exact situation. From my point of view.
The nice thing is, like, there are promising pieces on the Rams offense, Nakua and Kyron Williams. But then you also have like a young kind of, I don't want to say explosive, but kind of quality pieces on defense for the Rams.
I was going to say, I had to give a shout out to Kobe Turner and Byron Young, like home runs this year, and home runs in the mid rounds for sure. Like, that's exactly to your point. It's like, it is a terrific time to do it. Those guys are going to be wanting money in 3-4 years when this rookie contract's up. Keep building around those type of guys now, and try to build a contending roster in 3, 4, 5 years. But now you just delayed it a whole other year.
So do you think that's what the Packers will be doing if they don't sell? I don't know. I don't know what to do with this Packers team.
See, I'll say this. You know, if you're a Packers fan, it was a beautiful week last week for you. because Jordan Love actually gave you some hope, right? Like that was definitely, I would say, you can't say the best week, because I would say the week against the Bears or week 2 when he threw 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Those are both pretty good weeks, right?
Yeah.
But I'd say from a value of like making good tight window throws and being consistent, good in the pocket, I think I'd say this might have been his best game so far yet. So,
Aaron Jones is looking a little bit better.
I think that's the thing too. Get Aaron Jones back in here. Get Aaron Jones consistent reps. I think having a guy like him is just nice for a QB, right? Like it's just kind of a nice security blanket. He just gives you an extra layer of comfort. Keep Aaron Jones out there. Even though it's been a thing with injuries and how many reps he can get. If he can keep getting good reps, get Aaron Jones out there. Seriously.
Yeah, another piece I really like on the Packers that I don't think a lot of people talk about a lot. I actually think maybe in a year or two, Luke Musgrave is going to be like a really, really good weapon for them. Unfortunately for me, but 250 yards and a touchdown, 27 receptions. You can tell Matt LaFleur wants him in the game plan. So, I mean, if you're a Packers fan and Love happens to be the guy, you have kind of a security blanket in Musgrave, who LaFleur has consistently put in the game plan to get targets.
He's just a huge target too. I mean, he's a humongous target. Like that's exactly why Jordan Love loves going to him too in certain situations, because he is just a humongous target. And I do think that's going to be a connection that'll keep growing.
Talking about tight ends, staying in the NFC North, is Cole Kmet a top 3 tight end?
See, hold on a minute. I'll say no. He's cracking his way more and more up the list, though. He's for sure cracking his way more and more up the list. I mean, I don't even know exactly how to rank him right now. If I started doing it on the side, I'll just take up too much time and we'll start rambling.
I'll look it up. Keep talking about it.
But yeah, but here's my thing. The catches that he made this game, and especially the first, I mean, we know the one over Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, he side note, from a matchup standpoint, Dennis, I don't know how having a 5'9" guy and a 6'6" guy is ever a play. I don't really know what was going on with that. Have Jordan Howden in on those specific moments. If we're gonna go one-on-one, have Jordan Howden in there. Anyways, but yeah, Tyrann Mathieu, he bagged him. But Cole Kmet, great blocker, good route runner, good hands. Cole Kmet's definitely making his way up the list. And he's consistent. And I said, this was one of my narratives when the contract got signed. There was a lot of people saying it was an overpay. No. Especially the way tight ends are starting to get paid and the way tight ends produce for offenses. If you have one of them, you got to take care of them. Especially because how much dirty work they do. You gotta let them know that you appreciate them.
Yeah, no, I mean, Cole Kmet right now, he is only at 374 yards, but I believe he is second in touchdowns this year. Does that sound right to you? I mean, that's what it's showing me. Yeah. He's right behind Mark Andrews, ahead of Travis Kelce.
It was the red zone breakout like we were calling.
Yeah, he is really a target in the red zone, and it's not even just when they're like at the goal line. Like he can go up and get it. He's not gonna like destroy you, like in terms of like his skill, but he's physical enough where he'll get the ball and he'll bring it down over a smaller defender.
Oh, absolutely. He's got a humongous frame. That's why I loved him so much when you guys took him. Like, correct me here if I'm wrong. I can just ask you straight because I always mix it up. What round did you guys get him in?
I believe it was the second round.
I'll say second round. I remember he was potential first round like type of talent.
Yeah.
I think you guys got him for great value, and as such, you paid him with great value. Bears fans got a good one for sure.
So the guy throwing him the ball started off pretty good to Kmet.
He started off scaring me a little bit.
Scaring you how?
Because I was like, damn, is he really about to cook us like this?
Dan, getting cooked by a D2 quarterback, I mean, that got Josh McDaniels fired.
We'll save this for. I'm saving my banter for later. But no, I mean that's why. Like I was scared. I genuinely scared. That like side note. I got to give him his love. Bajan is a gamer. Like he definitely makes plays.
Yeah.
I think what gets him in trouble is again he doesn't have the physical tools to be able to make some of the throws that he tries to make in the time he makes. Like he'll see something that would have worked if he had a stronger arm, but it's like by the time he tries to get it where it needs to be, it's just a little too slow. A little too much time for Paulson and Debo. You know what I mean? Jump in front of it. But it's the thing is, the way he reads the field, the way he moves in the pocket, like he's got raw skill to him for sure. And again, like a lot of people have been saying, I'm hearing it's the narrative. I'm going to ride it too. If you're Tyson, you got to be saying to yourself, no matter what, at least, dude, I'm going to be in this league for a while. Like I got me at least backup. Like teams are going to look at me and say, I can develop him to at least trust him with the backup. If worst comes to worst, to step in for a couple quarters. For sure. Like he's definitely at least that guy. In the NFL.
Bajan definitely has a place in the league. He is definitely, I don't want to say the best backup, but he definitely can be one of those guys who can spot start and win you a game. I mean, the Bears' offense had an okay day. You mentioned Donta Foreman in your notes.
Man.
Such an underrated guy.
Dude, he's angry.
I was surprised he wasn't picked up sooner in free agency.
Are him and Pacheco related somehow?
I don't know.
The way they run.
But realistically, I don't know how you sign Miles Sanders and let him walk.
Yeah, you're not lying about that. Especially with that whole offense over there right now anyways. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that later.
Oh, yeah. It's brutal. I mean, Bears traded for Montez Sweat. They had no sacks at all this game. How'd you feel about the Saints' offense?
Again, that's what I was going to get into next. Let's talk about it. And we'll start with the first half defense. Like, the Saints are such a weird team, right? Like, again, this is where I don't understand us at all. We were killing the Colts, dialing up Shaheed shots, deep ends over the middle, whatever. Where did all that go? Like, you guys are out here playing linebackers in the middle of the field, and we just completely forgot the middle of the field exists. And on top of that, we forgot that Shaheed exists. Take the top off at least once. Your guys, again, I know Eddie Jackson having a better year, and I know, right, you get my point. The safety situation of any team that I'd want to start targeting over the top, I think the Bears would rank top 5. Like, of all teams that we weren't trying to go over the top on, why? Like, that's the thing that makes the Saints offense so frustrating. Oh, and we'll go to the 4th and inches where, yeah, okay, we get the first down, we can take more time off the clock, yay. But then that just adds more risk of fumbling or some stupid shit again. We had the chance to go up 2 possessions on you guys. Again, the D2 rookie quarterback in his 3rd, 4th start. What are we doing? Like, who's calling the shots around here? DA, you don't have enough faith in us to hold a 10-point lead with 4 minutes left against him? Like, the decision-making sometimes around everything that goes into the Saints. And I was saying before, you reminded me, Groupie, our kicker, is the man, let me double check, the man's still on the roster? Because if the man's still on the roster, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, look at this shit. Yup, sure enough, still on the roster. Like, Blake, I wish you well, man. Blessings. But for the Saints, you're not consistent enough, and you're not doing your job. Like, what are we doing? The inconsistency of this team, if something is going to hurt this team long term and it halts us, it's going to be the inconsistency. Every Saints fan knows that, there's no doubt. Because we go from looking... I'm not going to even compare us to the Bills. We don't deserve that. We don't have those Bills weeks even. We have really good weeks, but not Bills weeks. But in terms of coming to show up one week and then the next week just falling flat, the Saints and the Bills at this point, they're doing handshakes. Like, it's ridiculous, bro.
Groupie has missed 5 field goals so far this year. Not something you want when you trade away Will Lutz, who was pretty much automatic.
Yeah, he hit a couple rough moments over the years and a couple rough stretches, but I had his faith he would come back, and he did. You know what I mean? It's like and he was injured on and off for a long period of time. Like, dealing with that shit as a kicker, I don't know how that is, but.
Well, also, you got to give a shout out to the Saints defense for what they did. I mean, 5 turnovers, regardless of who it is a lot. I mean, I think this game says a lot more about your defense than it does your offense.
That's the thing, as every Saints fan always knew it would. For some reason, we've had the worst first half defense over the last 4 weeks, and we still make it work, which is a testament to how much of the defense does make it work when they work. It's just like, let's let this trend stop developing of taking Xanax before the first half of the game and then having it wean off at the second half, and then we come in ready to kill shit because we're having withdrawals. Like, I mean, I wish I was trying to be funny, but it's like the way that the games start, I'm actually convinced they're binging and they're hungover for the first half or something. I mean, it's like, it's to the point where I'm like, what are we doing here? Let's start with some energy, boys.
Do you think that's a coaching issue?
Because every NOLA fan wants it to be the case. And yes, that's the thing, is I'm like, look, Dennis Allen, I go back and forth because it's like, yeah, he has a lot of traits that I like, and a lot of things about his defense I love, and that the consistency of the defense and things along those lines I like. But then it's the thing about his regime where we don't show up hard enough against a lot of opponents. We don't show up early enough. And I think, yeah, it goes back to DA, and it goes back to how he's a more relaxed, he's a more reserved dude. I'm like, DA, get these dudes ready to kill shit. But enough of my Saints banter. You know what I'm saying? We need to start showing up early because the Saints just don't show up ready. But they're a talented team that doesn't show up ready. That's the narrative right now.
Going from a close game to a complete blowout. Seattle at Baltimore. Is Baltimore the best team in the AFC?
Not ready to say it yet, but I'll say that they're definitely like really, really close. They're as close as you could be without convincing me for sure yet. But at this point, again, the only way you can convince me is by going to beat the Chiefs. Like, I got to see you do that, and then I'll say it. So it's like, in their defense, they really can't even convince me of it. It's like, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
There's a guideline in place that they can't even remove right now. But they're a damn talented team. They're exceeding our expectations tenfold because we expected, I'd say, a lot from them.
Yeah.
I don't think we expected this year.
No, I mean, I didn't. I honestly didn't expect the offense to get moving that quickly.
No.
Because we knew what the defense would be.
No, I was going to say, I didn't think that it would look literally exactly as I pictured. I mean, basically, I think you feel the same way. Like, the run game is still dominant, but whenever Lamar is going to pass the ball and have an option to run it, not all time, but whenever he's going to have a scramble, it's going to be like everybody's so down the field and every route combination is working so well, he has so much space. Like, it's literally exactly what you pictured if you were picturing the best case scenario for the Ravens.
Well, also what will kill you is, like, this is, like, how many years in a row without J.K. Dobbins and their backups just continue to produce? Like, that they are products, not to say they're not good players, but it seems like they're products of the system that they run. And I think that also has to do with the fact of Lamar being such a threat with his legs.
No, absolutely. That's the thing, is that's the first guy you're keying on. Exactly. So, in a sense, especially in the red zone, I mean, that's exactly why a guy like Gus can elevate so much, because you're not even the first guy that they're keying on. With all due respect, he would say the same thing.
Yeah.
You got to take the edge with Lamar first, and therefore you're going to be a little out of position when they want to plow back inside.
OBJ was scoring. Keaton Mitchell was going crazy.
Shout out to Keaton Mitchell, man.
Yeah. I guess my thing is, like, going to the other side of the ball, Geno Stone is stepping up, and it's like, our
star player for real.
Where do you think the Ravens defense ranks out of every team in the NFL? Like, do you think they're top 3?
I feel like the Chiefs might be number 1. Crazy enough.
Okay.
Like, the Chiefs might be actually number 1. But actually, no. We're bringing back the emoji. Ravens logo, Chiefs logo, shaking hands emoji.
Oh, yeah.
Best defense in the league right now.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, I don't even want to pick one. I'm just going to say the Chiefs and the Ravens are definitely, and that's what I think I love too. They're very unique defense. They rotate a lot. They bring very unique pressures. They bring like unique stunts. They win with creativity, which is a bonus points to both of them.
Yeah. I want to ask you this because obviously I was kind of a hype beast for Seattle. 49ers fans ripped me apart. What is the thing that makes this team go to the next level? Is it quarterback play? Like, what is it? Because it seems like they made up a lot of additions into. Now, in all fairness, the Lions got blown out as well, but 37-3 is a big margin for someone that's supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFC.
See, that's where this gets rough, because every Seahawks fan knows it deep down too. It sucks. Like, Geno's a great guy. He's tons of fun. The story, Geno, he didn't write back. It's lit.
I guess what's your other options though?
That's the thing. Like, yeah, that's the issue though. Like, but again, long term, they're kind of in. Let's be honest for a sec. I'm about to take off my Seahawks, like the Seahawks love shades for a sec. We've been tossing love for a while here. Like, let's take off shades for a sec. Let me just look at this completely bipartisan. If the Geno, if he doesn't keep consistently improving, which at this point is probably not likely, and you guys ask yourself, what's the QB situation to look like? Oh man, we got to pay these guys and this guy and this guy and this guy, and oh man, our young guys are getting older. We got to pay them soon. Like, what's the window right now for like where you fit in the QB with all those other guys before you got to pay him? And like, it's gonna be interesting. Like, that is long. It's not that they're in a fuck situation. They're certainly not in fucked range.
No,
because you still at a long shot, fucking 2% shot, could go win the Lombardi, right? It's like at this point in time, yeah, it's incredibly rare. We talk about chances all the time. Chances of them winning 4 games in a row in the playoffs, how slim is it? Incredibly slim. But you at least are on paper, you got a shot right now. But again, things down the road here. Where does the reload? What does the reload process look like? It's going to have to happen eventually.
I think they're taking the approach of like, let's build the roster. We have a guy that can win us some games. Show. I mean, I guess this is something that it might be a rebuild method that not a lot of teams look to do. Like, their team has a lot of like old veterans that you can learn a lot from, and then a lot of young stars. So maybe their thought process is, okay, we have Geno Smith. He's not going to win us a Super Bowl, but he can get us to the playoffs. We can get playoff experience for these young guys, so that when the old guys do retire, these young guys already know how to win. They already have playoff experience, and then you can bring in the young quarterback into a culture where they're all about winning. They have talented guys in a DK Metcalf, in a Jackson Smith Njigba, and they're rebuilding that Legion of Boom. Maybe this is the Seahawks' plan.
Oh, it very well could be. And that's the thing, is if you pay the right guys, you know what? It will work. But it's more just about then you got to – it only will work when you find that right guy best to put behind Geno.
Right.
And that's the thing, too, is maybe just something to keep an eye on. Maybe they're going to do that soon. Jordan Love type of situation, but better in their eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
It's going to be something to keep our eye on for sure.
Talking about a team that does have the guy figured out, or so you would hope, is CJ Stroud having the best rookie quarterback season ever?
I think he is, yeah. What, it's him and Andrew Luck, right? I mean, at this point.
It's got to be.
Again, when I said early in the year, I said that man very well could. I didn't say he was gonna. I said he very well could break the rookie passing record, especially with the extra game. And man, by those comments, you would have thought that I said he's gonna do a triple backflip off the Empire State Building and land it because I don't know, like everybody thought I was insane, but sure enough, here we go. And CJ looks to me like as long as he stays healthy, and please let the man stay healthy, please, because CJ is so much fun to watch. He's so talented. I love what he stands for. CJ. I'm a fan, man. I'm just gonna say it right now. It's been announced. I'm rocking with CJ Stroud. You cooked the Saints. The first time I had to forgive him for that, but I got by it. I mean, no jokes aside, it's like if you're the Texans too. I mean, how lucky do you feel right now?
Yeah.
He fell into your lap. And on top of that,
and this is with
Will
no
Anderson's
run game.
been really good too. He's not elite yet or anything, but he's been really good. And you got to love what you're seeing if you're especially from the fact that he's a rookie. And you're like, hold on a minute, we still got all of this, like hold on a minute, we still got all of this room to build in the future. All these guys that are young. I think you're probably looking at, if anything, if you're a Texans fan, you're the O-line. You're like, we got a lot of work to do here, but at least he makes it work with them. And so it's like, what is this going to look like when we put around a great unit? Like, I mean, it's only up.
He's overperforming with the receiving core that he has. I mean, Tank Dell is looking like a beyond a steal.
It's starting to look like, and Nico already looked really, really good.
Dalton Schultz too.
But now it's like out of nowhere, like Tank's over here, and he's like, hold on a minute, I might be even more talented than Nico, and Nico already showed he's really talented. Like, wait, and like we said, the Texans, we always thought John Mechie was going to be the guy to sneak in and be like that 1-2.
Yeah.
With, hey, you know what? If John could sneak in here now in the next couple years too, or however the case is, they draft that next guy, you got a 3-headed, 4-headed punch, and it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's like you said too with Schultz.
Yeah.
Man, the Texans. That's like you're in that situation where like this isn't our time now. But in that 3-4 future year window, like we're gonna be those guys.
Yeah, and I think to say this
if
is
they do
like,
it right.
Yeah. It's unfortunate for the Buccaneers because their offense actually played really well. It was their defense that let them down. And at the end of the day, like what you got from this offense today is probably your ceiling. But it's like you need to be able to count on your defense, especially with a defensive head coach, to not allow the other team to score 39 points when you put up 37.
No, yeah. I mean, again, with the Bucs, I think the narrative just is what it is with them, right? It's like they didn't sell out at the deadline to who were we just going to compare it to? The Rams. Like,
yeah.
You had the chance to be like literally both in the same exact situation. They are literally like back to the handshake meme. They're the handshake meme. You got the job done.
Yeah.
You got the banner. The banner's going to fly forever. And you could have reloaded now when there's like less pressure on you because you already just done it, and then now you can reload it. And now it's like you both just delayed the process another year for no reason. Like and your fan base knows it. Let's be real, bro. I guarantee it. Even we get a Bucs fan right now, it's honest, and a Rams fan. The Rams fans already knows for sure. But the Bucs fan, they'd be teetering towards like, well, we still can make a run. The NFC's so weak. The NFC South, I get it.
Right.
As an NFC South merchant myself. But it's like, let's be realistic. Like, was reloading the better option? Yeah. Like, it was. Because, again, like you said, the ceiling is still playing your best game and being able to be beat out, which is not good.
Talk about ceilings. Does Bryce Young suck? What is his ceiling?
I'm sticking with it. I'm putting myself on jackass watch with this one. But I'm not.
Jackass watch.
The Bears done it to me for like 3 seasons in a row. Fuck it, might as well. What's the risk at this point? I'm sticking with Bryce. I'm sticking with him in the sense of here's exactly where I'm comparing him to at this point. There's no doubt. I'm sticking with it. Please, Bryce. Don't let me down. Jokes aside, I do think he's very similarly, kind of like came out into a situation very much like Tua. Like, I don't think Frank Reich is the guy. I don't think that anything about the team is going to be that is the way it is now has any contingency on how it's going to look down the road in a few years. I don't think there's any type of the team like it's like a big illusion right now. Like Bryce is just caught in the middle of a big fucking hurricane, right? Like it's like he got washed in and the staff is not going to be there. The owner has no clue what's going on himself. Like the direction of the team has been a mess.
passing up. I mean, like that passing up Brian Burns to first.
I was just going to get back to
biting
that.
them in the ass so much.
It's like, but that's what I was going to go back to. It's like, what's the plan in the future with the young guys you already have? And that's why I say back to the Tua thing. I think you put again, is it going to go the same way? I can't guarantee that they're going to be a fucking Mike McDaniel to come save the day. But you get a new coach in place. You get that man a good receiving core, a competent O-line. The O-line around him is terrible right now. He's getting hit constantly. Yes, let me be clear. He makes terrible mistakes and decisions in game, though. But back to like how Tua was, I think it goes back to the whole like when you're not comfortable to begin with, you never were comfortable. Like you're gonna play like shit, no matter how good you were coming out or who you are coming out. When you're thrown into an absolute garbage situation like that, and let me be clear, Bryce doesn't have the element that the other guys have. Yeah, if you're 6'5", 6'4", it'll look different because you can at least still. Bryce, it's like he really is relying on them to surround. He's different. Like with Bryce, you need them to actually give you what you need, or else you're screwed. He's not. You can make it work when you're different breed athletically, but it's like Bryce is what he is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think also like the main thing is like you can say this about any player. Like Bryce is not situation proof, especially with his physical limitations. So when you don't have a true wide receiver one, and your defense is injured beyond all belief and you cannot get the ball back in your hands, those bad habits formed and bad environment that you're living in every day, I feel like is going to hamper him later in his career. And which is sad. I mean, you see this a lot of quarterbacks, and I'm willing to say, and we've talked about this, more of these guys bust from coaching and situation than actual talent.
Oh, for sure. And again, though, like I say, if someone's really, really the guy, like they're going to shine through regardless. Right?
Yeah.
Like and that's the thing. They're going to, but with Bryce, I'll use Bryce as an example. If Bryce was showing consistent, humongo flashes, like, whoa, like that was a crazy window. He just fit that in on a laser rope before he made that dumb mistake, right? Like, it's like it'd be like, you could give it a little more before you take, but it's like when you're playing like shit way more than you're showing the flashes on top of the bad situation, that's where the questions come from. Right now, it's like we got to ask.
Well, Bryce Young had a bad day, which means the Colts defense had a good day, a very good day. Kenny Moore, 2 pick sixes, 4 total sacks. Is this like a unit that next year could be actually very, very scary?
I won't say like very, very scary yet, but again, when you combine it with obviously the ideal goal of Shane Steichen is going to be running it how they did with Jalen. So let's just run this ball, get A-Rich to have an option, get him like 14, 15 carries a game, and just chew the clock. I mean, as much as you can while still producing on offense. When you combine that on top of it, they could have like a top 15, top 12 next year. That's what I say. I'm not ready to say like elite, but I'll say like getting into the above the rest of the pack territory. They're still young. They still got to grow.
Well, they're going to have to kind of overperform this year because the offense is functional, but I mean, you're not really getting much out of Minshew and the running backs, and especially with the receiving core being injured now.
The Colts are very much in that same territory as only a few teams, but it's like you really don't know how you feel about them. Like It's like I really just actually don't know. Like it's like I really would love A-Rich to come back, be healthy. Then I'm all in like I was. But now, where the narrative is until he'll prove it to not be, that it's like, man, how long can A-Rich stay out there?
Yeah.
So that's the question at this point. If he comes back, that's not the question at all. Then again, we're all back in. Gotta love it. But right now, I don't know how to feel about the Colts with that contingency in place.
The Colts have Anthony Richardson. The Panthers have Bryce Young as their franchise quarterbacks. And the Las Vegas Raiders have Aiden O'Connell. Is he their quarterback of the future?
I say you definitely can't be ready to say it yet. You definitely can't be ready to say it yet. But like what he showed you in preseason, what he showed you in the short stint he's had in the regular season so far this year, I think there's a lot of great traits about him. And I think the main thing you got to say you love is that he doesn't really ever commit like the baffling mistake. That's like definitely very, very nice to have when he's playing as many reps as he is and he's out there as long as he's been. Like, in this game specifically, it's like, and against the defense like the Giants that likes to try to force turnovers, likes to try to force mistakes, likes to try to get pressure, it's a really good sign that he plays as calm as he does. He is definitely a calm, pocket-dwelling, move in that pocket. He's going to move around. He's going to look. He's going to find his guy. He's got a lot of good things about him. It's just purely on sample size. I'm not ready to say that at all, just because I got to see more. Give me 3 or 4 at least more weeks before I even have like a somewhat of an opinion formed. But as of right now, he looked good. And he looked damn good, and consistently, he looks like a chill QB in the best way possible.
Now, do you think the fact that Aiden O'Connell, yes, while, playing nice and doing everything he does, do you think this affects, like, Devontae Adams' want to be in Las Vegas with a young, developing QB who may not be able to feed him the ball a ton and be hurting his legacy?
No, again, too, we go back to direction stuff all the time. And let's just call it for what it is. They didn't do it because they didn't want egg on their face. It is what it is. Like the Devontae trade. I saw the Jets had made an offer at the deadline.
Yeah.
Sure, they weren't the only ones.
Yeah.
Like, you had a chance to get great value out of a guy who's not only disgruntled, but realistically he's just not a part of your window at this point. I mean, assuming that Devontae's not going to be an all-pro till he's like 34, 35.
Yeah.
Could he? Sure. But likelihood, you know me, my likelihoods. No. So it's like, he's probably not a part of being the same Devontae.
Yeah.
Even if he was on your team, the same Devontae, when it's time to be windowing that Super Bowl. So I don't know what these GMs are doing. It's a pride thing. That's what I'm saying. It's an egg on their face thing. You sacrificed a couple days of being a shithead and everybody's saying fuck you. For then now you just delayed it. You delayed it. It's like it's my theme of the day. Like you literally just delayed, and everybody's gonna say why didn't we in a few years? In a few years it's just the opposite. Everyone's say why the fuck didn't we trade him? What the fuck? Like you got no value. He got older. It's just funny because that's how people are too. Is you have to understand as an owner. If you if you listen to the fans, you're gonna be with them soon.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I mean, the other thing, too, is, like, being a rookie quarterback, like, you're going to run it a lot. Like, Josh Jacobs had a good day on the ground, great day on the ground. You may not be feeding your star receivers all the time, especially if you're not, like, a high electric offense. So,
and I get it, though. It's like it's a comforter thing to keep him for Aiden O'Connell. On the other hand, I guess I want to say that before, but it's like the value you would get for him.
It's not a real OC. Like, it's a guy that stepped up. So, I mean, there is some hope on the other side of the ball, like Max Crosby. He's a dog, but outside of that, like the Raiders situation is bleak. But an even more bleak situation may be the Giants, who may be the worst team in football. Daniel Jones tore his ACL. He's done. DeVito is in now. Saquon Barkley's playing well, but it's just like, I mean, I don't even know how you discuss the Giants.
I think the most surprising stat of the game, Tommy DeVito completed 75% of his passes. Huh? I know he played it terrible. I was like, when I saw it, I'm like, wait a minute, really?
I mean,
like, hold on a minute. That's actually just, I didn't even think that. There's just no way, but that it actually is. Yeah, jokes aside, Saquon's playing incredibly well, but he's doing all he can. I mean, it's like, what do you want? That's where it's just like this. They are, I mean, I actually think Saquon's the one I feel for the most. It just came to me all at once. This wasn't even what I planned on. I didn't plan on going on the soapbox. But, like, man, like, dude's been giving his all for that squad. And it's just like letdown after letdown. He needs a fresh start for sure. And if anything, too, his skill and talent, his raw skill and talent, is the only reason at this point. Really, it's like they even they have a win. It's like a couple wins. Man, it's like he's holding back from being the ultimate tank job where they could just go get that number 1 pick and go like, you know what I mean?
No, I agree.
Like, it's like, yeah, if you're the Giants at this point, because this was not our narrative going to the year. The narrative was a fat regression.
I mean, Listen, we said they weren't going to be that good this year. We were
cooking, but like not. We didn't think we were going to be cooking this crazy.
No,
it came out better than we expected.
This is like poverty-ass shit. Like, this is bad. Like, this is... Just watch it. Like, they don't look like a functional team.
0 sacks on Aiden O'Connell. How do you not sack Aiden O'Connell once? That's the craziest part about the game. I said the craziest stat was Danny DeVito. I lied. 0 sacks on Aiden O'Connell with this fucking D-line that they have. I know the Raiders have a good O-line. I'm sorry, though. You got to get at least one at Aiden O'Connell in this start, in this situation.
How you don't generate... I mean, like, it's the Giants, though. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but this team is bad. Like, very, 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 very bad. Like, it just seems like there's no cohesion at all with anything.
That's the thing I wanted to get at, too, is where it really sucks. Because I feel for him. Like, this is one of those like situations too where if you're him, I mean, you could have not succeeded really no matter what you did, but it's really exposing it for what it is. Where it's like I feel like I'm doing him bogus because it's like I want to go back to look at last year, the amazing job he did last year, but it's like now seeing what's going on is it's almost like you're getting into in a sense where it's like maybe Dable doesn't have much control over the like the climate of the locker room. Like, he's good at the X's and O's. We know he's a great offensive mind.
Yeah.
But maybe, just maybe, he doesn't have a lot of control over his guys and how they are and how that their emotions translate into the way they play, the way that the product looks on the field.
Well, did you see what happened with Evan Neal? He false started, and you just see the camera cut to Dable, and he's like, "What the fuck?" He's like cussing out Neal, and it's just like Neal has played really, really bad, but it's just like
why is he still out there? I get it.
know.
They have there's nobody. Everyone's injured, but that's why I'm saying, back to my thing. It's like, in his credit, really, what could he have done? They're so bad. It's like it's on Dable, but it's also it's also not like there's almost like no accurate way to paint this other than paying Daniel Jones is where it all fucking went wrong. Stop giving mediocre QBs max money. How about that that's really what this Daniel Jones is the real criminal. I mean,
so well, no, Joe Shane is.
Yeah, I would say actually Daniel Jones didn't write the contract himself.
No. Honestly, what do you think about Dable and Caleb Williams next year?
If they found a way to make it happen,
that would be crazy.
They
would have to give up a lot
redemption.
if they don't have the first pick. Going from probably the worst team in the NFL to the best team in the NFC, do you think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC?
I think they're the best team in the NFL. Because my thing I've been saying with the Eagles, it's like they're clearly not at their best, and they're still the best. I'm just gonna crown them as that right now. Like, if you are not playing your best brand of football and you're still the best team out there, like how can I not give you knocks? And that's where I think it's funny. Like I'm seeing, like, this is not the consensus, at least from what I'm seeing. A lot of people have, like, it's like the Ravens train right now. And there's a lot of different trains people are riding, still on the Chiefs. I'm over here and I'm like, look, man, I know the Eagles have got some issues. I know they're not, but that's why that they should be number one. Like, they've got issues and they still are pulling out all these wins. Jalen Hurts still clearly is getting healthier and healthier. He's still got a lot of health he's got to get healthier. But if he's playing like this and he's not all the way healthy, like, again, I'm not going to look at it as a negative. I'm going to look at it glass half full. Like, they're going to keep getting better and better. They're already a great team. For me, it's just like it's simple. It's just like, and we know that the moxie and the pedigree of this team, like, they just showed us that they were a couple snaps away from doing it last year. I mean, it's like,
yeah. I mean, when you have two receivers like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith who are balling out, it's kind of hard to stop that offense, especially when you have such a threat with Jalen Hurts and the offensive line and DeAndre Swift. It's, maybe that's why Dallas only had 3 sacks.
And even I know Kenneth Gainwell has an interesting reputation. I know a lot of
yeah.
I know it is.
He's interesting.
He had a hell of a rep when he did that flip. When he did that flip over Stephon Gilmore, I just gotta give him that. Like, I was cheesing my screen. I'm like, he got some love back from the Eagles fans on that one. He got some love back from Philly. I mean, yeah, this offense as a whole, this defense, that's the thing. It's like they don't have to play their best right now, and we see what they can do. But it comes down to, for me, come playoff time, like, that Eagles D-line, you don't want to see them. Like that.
No.
We talk about
5
how
sacks.
I keep talking about how a lot of these teams, what they're missing is a lot of these teams, if they even just got one of these edge rushers for the Eagles or interior rushers, I'd say they're ready to go. But the Eagles have all of them. And then, see what I'm saying? It's like when you got this pass rush with all this is the year to do it. Last year, I thought it's like, yeah, last year was really a year too. Now it's like, you really got to do it this year, because if you're an Eagles fan, I think this has got to be it.
This has to be the year. I feel like that's how the San Francisco 49ers felt trading for Chase Young. Like, they felt like this is their year. Now, let me ask you this, because it probably is not their year with the way they've been playing. Is it Dak Prescott or is it Mike McCarthy?
That's what's crazy, is this was Dak's best game in a long time. They're in at 74 yards, 3 touchdowns, basically on a 66% completion clip. I mean, that's a hell of a game.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. I don't think. How about like, it's not specifically either. The Cowboys still just consistently. It's crazy. It's like what's going on here? Like, what is the narrative? Is what the narrative has been, and it sucks. It's like, I'm so tired of this actually being the narrative, bro. I'm actually so tired of just being like, same old Cowboys. It's actually getting boring. Like,
yeah, I know every year.
I know dudes like Stephen A. Smith love it. If you're a Cowboys hater, you love it. That's the thing. Me myself, I'm actually no Cowboy hater. I don't like them. I don't hate them. It's like, for me, this is so tiresome and ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. It's the same shit every year. It has been since I'm in fucking middle school. I think you feel the same way. I mean, has it ever changed?
They talk about them every year, and some years feel better than others, but after watching them, you just never feel like they can get over that hump. Like, you never feel confident about it.
it's like it's not Dak, it's not Mike, it's the fucking logo. The logo attracts fucking. We're right there, but we're just not there close enough.
It's Jerry
Besides the
Jones.
90s, I mean, like, what the fuck's going on here? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Cowboys fans, I'm sure, agree with what I'm saying at this point. It's literally ridiculous. It has been the same thing on at least a 20-year run. What are we doing? It's like this is actually getting tiresome. I'm tired of it. I want the Cowboys to either just go be the dominant team that we know they can be, or just fucking just completely shit the bed and just restart all over, because this trend of, like, they're really close and like it's been, literally it's been 20 years in a row. What are we doing? This is out of hand.
Is crazy that you talk about.
Besides
really,
when they reloaded with Dak
Yeah.
and Zeke, and then it's restarted the whole process. I guess I can't forget about that. But you're getting my point. Basically, it's been for like 20 years in a row now the same thing. It's ridiculous.
talking about teams that are really close but just can't get the jobs done. The Buffalo Bills, could they possibly miss the playoffs? They are currently not a playoff team.
It's so perfect that we had the Cowboys and the Bills back to back.
Same
Because
team.
you have to. I mean, the Bills have had a much shorter stint of being the same team. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Bills fan, you got to feel like, wow, we're going back to shaking hands again. I mean, it's like this is. Yeah, I mean, but what sucks about the Bills is I'll say where I get more upset about it than I would even about the Cowboys, because with the Bills, it's like they don't got the Lombardi. They got all the sad losses. I would actually like to see of the Bills if my team isn't going to go do it. It's like I wouldn't mind seeing these boys
Yeah.
go do it, right? But them, they keep letting you down, and you won't even mind seeing them do good. What is it too? Like, you can't. You with this like
So-
they're the same situation. Like, but with the Bills, I think you probably lean. Are we leaning Josh?
One of the main things that I saw is they are one of the quickest teams to abandon the run when it doesn't work. So they have no run game, so teams just play them in the pass.
That's been a thing forever. On top of it, the Bills' line still. It's just like nobody ever talks about it, but like
It's just
not,
kind of
like, they're not a good line. Like
yeah.
that's the Achilles heel of the Bills. So they've never given Josh an elite line. But on top of that, Josh still does just Josh stuff like too often, especially this year. Like we know Josh. Like that's Josh. Josh can go be one of the best QB in the league, but he also can just be Josh. It's like some Drake and Josh shit going on. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
what are we like? It's like bloopers. He like pulls out the blooper reel. It's like the mistakes that he makes.
Reel.
The mistakes that he makes are like blooper reel football. So
5 straight games with an interception.
and back to Stephon Diggs. Like, what's the like? I saw he had another like.
He basically was saying
before
he
the
wasn't
halftime?
fucking sweating because it's like they're not doing anything on offense.
See, that's the thing. It's like when you got Stephon bringing that pressure on top of the fact that you're not.
Josh
like,
is already an anxious person. He like pukes before every game.
that there's something going on where like that's what makes me more mad about the Bills than the Cowboys from a comparison standpoint. Is it's like at least with the Cowboys, they're like it's like things are what they are. It's like but with the Bills, it's like we saw them peaking out. Like they were making the run. They almost made the run. They should have beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And when and it's like that they're gonna improve off this for sure. And it's like now. It's like the beat never dropped.
Yeah.
We're over here waiting. It's like what's going on here?
I mean,
Disappointment.
going from star receiver to star receiver, Jamar Chase could be down for a little bit, but T. Higgins had a great game. This is definitely his best game of the year.
He's past. I say past like few weeks. It's been like a bounce back. He's been a little shaky, but I think more than anything, he just had to. We got to get back in the groove. I think regardless, is he going to re-sign with the Bengals?
I don't
know. Like that's, I don't know, but he's definitely helping himself out. Like he's
Yeah.
definitely no
He's
matter
gonna
what.
get paid.
Yeah, he's definitely helping himself get that value back up. He's
Future
gonna make
Carolina
sure he gets paid.
Panther.
That would be crazy. Potentially something really to keep our eye on.
I mean, they would probably pay a premium for T. Higgins, like top of the dollar, top of the market value.
they're gonna need him.
So, to kind of close this game out, do you think? All right, let's say the Bengals are 5-3 after how they started. The Bills are 5-4. Who has the higher win total by the end of the year? The Cincinnati Bengals or the Buffalo Bills?
I'm going Bengals. That's the thing is I had to give the Bengals their shouts. Like in a game where they didn't get the run game going really at all. Besides, and that's the thing is the last play you won it with the run game. Joe Mixon made a hell of a play.
Yeah.
You still won it with the run game, so it's like you didn't abandon it. And on top of that, when Joe Burrow's playing like this, I mean these last few weeks, Joe Burrow's been who we know Joe Burrow is.
Yep.
Calm, collected, dialing up, putting the ball and the money on the blitz. Like, that's Joe Burrow getting out of the pocket when he needs to get out of the pocket. I mean, when they're rolling like this, and yes, I do think missing Jamar's going to hurt a little bit. I don't think it's going to hurt enough, though, that they're going to lose games that they should have won.
Okay.
Like, I think if they're going to lose a game, they're going to lose it regardless. And it's like they're still going to close out enough that I do think that they will. I think they'll have a better record than the Bills by the end of the year, especially because I know the Bills have kind of a tough closeout coming up. So,
Well, that was You Don't Know Ball number 58, Week 9 recap. Tonight we got Chargers, Jets. It's going to be an interesting game. Thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week. Dobbs.
if you enjoyed, drop a like, drop a sub. Again, we already know, 100%. We appreciate y'all. Want to have y'all around. And so feel free to stick around. Go watch some more videos. We appreciate y'all, man.